Hello, I'm Don Moores, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The League of Women Voters of Maryland had a very strong agenda it was pursuing in Annapolis during this past General Assembly session. Nancy Soering, the League's co-president, is here to tell how the League did.
Thank you.
Montgomery County's Department of Environmental Protection is planning a huge event in early May called Greenfest. Leslie Wilcox from the department will tell us where and when Greenfest will be happening and what fun events we can expect. On April 23rd at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School, there'll be an opportunity for all of Montgomery County to come out to discuss ways and celebrate our community, but to discuss ways to combat hate in Montgomery County. It's the grand opening, the big event for Communities United Against Hate. Shruti Bhatnagar, who is one of the leaders of the group, is here to tell us about this new organization and what it's going to try to do. Bethesda Cares is one of the most respected organizations in the county. It's a housing-centered program which helps to provide housing to people in need. Susan Kirk, the esteemed executive director, is here to tell us why ending homelessness is an achievable goal in Montgomery County and how Bethesda Cares is working on this important issue. Nancy, it's always a pleasure to have you. Usually, it's a downer, quite frankly, because of the ambitious agenda you all have, and it's difficult to get the members of the General Assembly across. Now, we're talking, if I remember correctly, we're talking about environmental protection, we're talking about how to make democracy work, and we're talking about social and economic justice.
Right. Small little goals.
Well, since this is Earth Month, and we've got Earth Day coming up on Saturday, the 22nd, as we film this, April 22nd. Well, we start with the environment.
Okay, well, I'll say we had 3 big wins there. One, we voted, the governor vetoed a bill that would increase the amount of renewable energy that utilities had to buy, but we overrode that veto first thing in the session, so that's good. That's going to go into effect.
Renewable, more renewable.
More renewable. Fracking ban. We passed a ban on fracking in Maryland. That was huge. And then the third one was to codify a program called Empower, which helps people have more energy efficient homes. It was kind of done by practice, but we want to make sure it was in law, so it stayed there.
So one of the more interesting things I thought in this session, and it seemed to indicate that the governor's really looking towards re-election, was his change on fracking. How did that come about?
That was pretty interesting.
Tell us about what the situation was before.
Well, people were concerned that he might ban fracking, that he had shown some support for it, and everyone was trying to get this
ban the fracking ban.
That he might veto a ban on fracking if it went through, and then suddenly he came out and said, no, I've decided that there's no safe way to do it, so I'm going to support a fracking ban. So that was great. But I just want to talk about a couple other things that happened this year. In the Making Democracy Work area, 16-year-olds will now be able to work as election judges, which vastly, if they are registered to vote, which vastly increases the...
Which fits in nicely with the service requirement.
Yeah.
So they can get service requirement, they get service hours.
As long as they're a registered voter, they can apply and become an election judge.
I think that's actually a great step because, we do need to engage our youth. And it builds up capacity, and it also educates them and gets them engaged in all these activities.
Absolutely, that's one of the reasons why we promoted it. Because
and we have such a shortage, too, don't we?
Yeah, we have a shortage of election judges, and also elections are becoming more and more technology-based, and who better knows how to use technology than a 16-year-old?
Yes,
so that was a big.
So 16-year-olds, they don't not registered. Because they can't be registered.
They can't be registered. No, you register to vote at 16. They can't vote till they're 18. So they need to show some interest in civic engagement by being registered to vote and registered as a party. Because one of the other requirements is that you have to have equal number of people from different parties working the polling places, and so that's why they have to be registered.
Okay, so more on making
democracy work.
Right.
Well, the other one thing we need to work on some more. We got very close to having same-day voter registration. It kind of fell apart on the last few hours of sine die, but I think it'll come back next year, and we'll be working on that as well.
What's the pushback on same-day registration? There
really wasn't any pushback. The legislators were in favor of it. The thing is, it's a constitutional amendment. The Senate passed a very clean bill that we would vote on, should we allow same-day registration, that afterwards we would do the implementation piece. There were some legislators in the House that wanted more specifics in the Constitution about how it would take place, and there just wasn't time to work that out at the very end.
So are you confident it will be on the ballot in 18?
I hope so. But it has to get through the General Assembly.
Right, that's what I
but
mean.
we'll start
Right.
earlier. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it will be.
Okay, so we've got the environment, making democracy work, and,
social
safety.
justice. The big thing there was paid sick leave. It's something that we've been working on for a long time. It's a benefit to
Absolutely.
families.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a benefit to workers, and it's a benefit to us. If I'm going to go out to a restaurant, I don't want the person that's waiting on me there because they're sick and it's the only way they could pay their rent.
Absolutely. It's so needed because a lot of our low-income workers, if they don't report to work, they lose their salary, they lose their money.
That's right.
And so it's a choice for the low-end workers that we work with, pay your rent or come up short. So I
Right.
have to show up for work.
Right. And we passed a fairly aggressive bill. Employers of 15 or more employees. The governor had one that was for 50 or more employees. But we were able to get this through, and I think this will make a difference in the lives of people.
As an employer of 5, I find it atrocious that you don't do this with all of your employees.
We
With
have one part-time employee at the
Yeah.
League of Women Voters, and we give her paid
No,
sick
I'm with
leave.
you. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the social?
Well, I will talk a little bit about redistricting reform.
We've got a minute. We've got to go through it really
Okay,
quickly.
the bill that we were supporting did not pass. One did pass, but it says Maryland will only do it when 5 other states do it, or
Right, the pact, the Middle Atlantic Pact
Yeah,
or whatever,
right,
right?
yeah.
There's no feelings about that? The
Well, I'll
quid
tell you
pro
the worst
quo?
part about that was they also stripped the money from the governor's public campaign finance fund and to use to go work on redistricting reform in those other states. If we had $1 million, I think we could get it through here. But anyway, Mark Twain always said something about it's easier to solve other people's problems.
These are so many thoughts. Any questions that for Nancy? Because I mean, so many things that the league is doing. What are you going to be doing now that the session is over? Is it
Getting
planning
ready
for
for the
next?
next one. Getting ready for the next one.
What,
Yeah.
what do you foresee the league? What about 20 seconds left? 10 seconds left?
You know, protecting these are all things that we have worked on for a long time, and I imagine that we'll do. We might get a little bit more involved in corrections reform and criminal justice issues.
And
too.
April 22nd, Earth Day. I guess the league wants everybody out to do something to help clean up Maryland. Wherever
Yeah,
they
or go
are.
march with the scientists downtown. That would be a
Yes.
good thing to do. We do believe in science. We hope other people do as well.
Well, we go from science. Thank you, Nancy. We go from science with the league to the science of the Maryland or the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection.
Yes.
Leslie, welcome. This is your first time on the show, and it's
Thank you.
fantastic to have you here.
Thanks for
We
having
still,
me.
real quickly, because I want to get into Greenfest, because who doesn't want a fest? A little bit about what the department does.
The Department of Environmental Protection is, the overall county department that works on any environmental issues here. We have focuses on energy, water, solid waste services, specifically recycling, wastewater, so all of the things that might fall under environmental protection we're working on. I personally work in the watershed
Okay.
management side of things, so I work very closely on making sure that the Clean Water Act requirements are met.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say there's concern that at the federal level there's less concern about environmental protection. Have you had conversations in your office about how you can make up for that at the local level?
We have, and so we, a lot of our requirements come from the EPA via the state of Maryland. So, nothing has really changed in terms of that flow. So the state requirements are still very much in place, which of course, we're committed to these requirements whether or not someone's putting them on us. Montgomery County is very good at being at the forefront of environmental issues.
Following up on Nancy's question, before we get to the Greenfest, I mean, one of the issues I know that frustrates some of your colleagues is that while you have we have laws in the books, you all are often handcuffed in terms of what you can do about enforcement, in terms of fines, in terms of stopping, in terms of all, you really have to then go tell some code ordinance or try to do this. Any chance that we'll see the county council or the state give you all the teeth that you need in order to make these great things happen?
I think one thing that we're lucky to have in our department is a code enforcement section. So we are able to, because we have, believe it's 5 full-time employees who are working on those code enforcement issues. So any, laws that the department is required to enforce do fall under them. And then we also have other enforcement officers working on recycling. So we're really trying to back up those laws that the council is passing with that enforcement.
All right, we'd go from enforcement to Let's Go Out, where we're going to have joy.
Yes.
And celebrate. May 5th, is that correct?
It's actually May 6th,
May 6th.
Saturday, May 6th.
Saturday, May 6th. Not
Yep.
Friday? I thought we were all going to take the day off work. It was going to
Yeah.
be Green Day in Montgomery County. So Saturday, May 6th.
Yes, it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. At Bora Park in Gaithersburg. It's right
Okay.
next to Gaithersburg High
Sure.
School.
Right there on 355.
Yep, that's correct.
Yes.
We're going to have, it's going to be a family event, a lot of fun activities going to
Okay.
be going on. We have a couple of free shuttles coming from the Lake Forest Transit Center and the
Okay.
Shady Grove Metro that are sponsored by our
What are we
Department
doing?
of-
Why would we have a Green Fest? What are we doing? What's the purpose of the day?
The purpose of the day is really to celebrate the environment and the people of Montgomery County. We just want to, make more connections between our citizens and what our departments and many other, agencies within the county are doing to try to protect the environment. And really, the main, focus that we want to get across to people is teaching people what every citizen can do in Montgomery County to help us with our goals.
So you have an
how-
educational component to it. Which
Yeah,
is-
definitely,
which
great.
is-
definitely.
So will you just be showcasing the county programs, or will they be private vendors there, like the people that do the compost recycling?
It's a good question. So there are going to be 80 private, for-profit, and organizations with vendors and exhibitors. So there's going to be a lot of different information there, a lot of different aspects of environmental
It sounds
protection
really
within the
great.
county.
So how do you advertise these events? How do you make sure everybody's getting that information?
So we have a website for it. We're also
Starting right here.
doing a lot of
Yes, well,
of
this
blogs
is a great
to get it out. We're working with WSSC, the Parks Department, City of Gaithersburg, and then we have local green organizations in Bethesda, Poolsville, and Wheaton, who also are doing a lot of outreach for us as well.
Oh, that sounds great.
And to the schools, of course.
Yes.
So, it's impressive what your office does, and I think getting to your point, Shruti, in terms of how do you get the word out. When you look at Greenscape, you look at trying to retain as much water in conservation gardening or rain gardens. The less water that goes into the Chesapeake or goes into the Potomac, goes into our creeks, the better, isn't it? The more that we can retain, we're gonna solve some of our problems, aren't we?
So our main focus is about the pollution that naturally rainwater is going to collect when it falls. So because we have a more urbanized area, especially down county, the water that's going to run off of the streets, off of the rooftops, off of anything that's really paved is going to collect pollution, and it collects heat as well, which is a form of pollution, water
Right.
pollution, and it's going to get faster, which causes erosion. And it's going to go into our rivers and streams, which are all connected directly to the Chesapeake Bay.
We have 30 seconds left. You're excited. What are you going to be doing at Greenfest yourself?
Myself, I am going to be at our DEP table, and I'm going to be helping to organize the volunteers. We do offer the student service learning hours for kids who come and help us out.
And this is an annual event?
Yep, this is our third annual event. Lots of kids' crafts. We're going to have an electric car show.
Cool.
We'll have demonstrations with teaching people how to do bike repair.
Perfect.
A lot of different activities.
Another opportunity for students
Yeah.
to get involved and
Definitely.
get SSL hours.
I'll be there.
Great.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. Shruti, welcome.
Thank you.
And your first time on the show.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
This is exciting. Well, listen, we are here talking about something that's really serious.
Yes.
And we're talking about Montgomery County and communities in our county united against hate. And
Yes.
you're one of the leaders. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the organization is, what you hope to do, and then the big event at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School on
I'm very proud to
Sunday.
be here today to be representing Communities United Against Hate. The group has come together post-election in November, and we just all felt these are community leaders who have been doing great work in the community, and all of us felt like there was a need to do something about how communities and people in communities were feeling. There's been an increase in hate crime, and people in the communities were immigrants have started to feel insecure, and so
Fear.
there's
Fear, and I deal a lot with students as an immigration attorney, and I've spoken to colleges and lots of student groups, and what should we do? What are we doing? Why do people hate us? And it's just
That's right. We've seen an increase in hate crimes at schools, in Montgomery County schools. We've seen that. And so we just wanted to come together to say we are going to be united against hate crime.
And who are we?
So we are a coalition, a network of individuals, community leaders, groups, and we are trying to build that network and coalition, and we welcome everyone to come together.
So spectrum across all religions?
Across all religions. It's a nonpartisan group. We've reached out to government agencies. We've reached out to all kinds of groups and individuals who are doing the work. Montgomery County, hate crime, Montgomery County civil rights, and community leaders and schools and the Board of Ed and politicians.
Will your mission include hate speech? Because that seems to be something that people feel like they have license to say now, whereas before, at least we pretended like we were trying to get along.
We thought we were post-racial, but somehow
That's right. That's
wrong.
part of the climate that is there right now, where certain people feel it's okay to to express hatred against anybody. And so that is right. That's going to be part of it. We are reaching out and welcoming everybody to get involved in that conversation, starting with what is hate and why it is not okay to express hate, and how to address those concerns, how to empower individuals and organizations to better address hate in Montgomery County. A rapid response system, programmatic responses, reaching out to schools and working with our youth to make them understand how they can make a difference and combat hate crime.
I remember back, it's been 17 years, that you helped create an AmeriCorps program called Project Change, and that played a big role in helping to reach out within immigrant communities and school systems and girl empowerment programs and throughout. It seems like such a long time ago, but it's really only yesterday. And so much of what helped were study circles as well, and getting people who were not fully comprehensive or didn't understand the importance that we're all of how we're all together, immigrant communities, native-born communities, all that stuff. What's going to happen? Where do you see this? Because it seems that communication is such a huge part of what
That's
a solution could be.
So a couple of keywords you used, communities, right? This is why when our group came together, we started looking at names. And we chose the name Communities United, because that's what we want people to hear and to see and to understand, feel welcome, feel involved, and say, this is a community. Everyone is welcome, come together, and we are going to together work on combating hate crime.
This is tangential, but we don't seem to teach civics anymore. So people don't even understand the basics of American government.
That's right. That's part of what this is, civic
feeds this-
engagement.
Yeah.
And through the schools and educating our youth, educating individuals, and everybody to understand issues that are surrounding this and how we can work together.
Right, the
Less than a
Declaration of,
minute.
I was going to say Declaration of Independence, communist document.
Well, the irony is that civics is that folks are becoming naturalized as U.S. citizens.
They know
have to learn the
more.
civics
They
that
have to. But
made.
what you said about communication and outreach, it is just such an important piece.
Yes.
We are trying to make sure we communicate diverse languages and reach out, send our communication out through various sources, not just our website and social media, but through different groups and forums.
Less than 30 seconds left. Tell us about the big event at Bethesda.
So we
Church
have an
Bethesda.
event coming up on April
Real quick.
23rd at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. It's at 4:30 p.m. We have Attorney General Brian Frosh as our keynote speaker. We have Jim Stowe from the County Department of
So a lot of
Civil
people will be
Rights.
And the
there?
League of
Lot
Women
of
Voters is going to
people-
be there registering
That's
voters.
right. We have a very
Engaged.
diverse panel, and we would love for more people to join. Please visit our
Big
website.
rally, big opening.
Big opening, kuamcmd.org.
And they'll get a chance to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
The television
Absolutely.
star today. Shruti.
The television stars, and I would encourage all of you to advertise our event and get the word out and encourage people to come there.
And I think it will help people to feel that there's a big community working on these
And
issues.
everyone is welcome, and together we will make a difference.
We will indeed. And thank you, Shruti. And
You're welcome.
what a great segue in someone who's making a difference in our community
That's
every
right.
day. Susan Kerr, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Bethesda Cares.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It still does.
So we think of, I especially think of my battles with Baltimore folks on state panels, state boards, where the impression of Montgomery County is our streets are paved with gold.
Correct.
Poor communities are elsewhere. Montgomery County has its act together, and there's no place within Montgomery County where that belief is more than, well, Bethesda.
Oh, yes.
What do you mean? You have no problems in Bethesda.
Correct.
So answer that question.
Okay, yes, that is one of the first ones. Quickly coupled with, aren't you attracting people to come here? Because we obviously don't have, and the answer is no. A lot of the people we work with, and we tend to work with street people, primarily. We're not a shelter. We don't, people who come to ask for help, we can send them up for other county services. We go look for the people that don't know or are too paranoid to ask for help, and so that's, and mental illness doesn't know any socioeconomic diversity. We have had clients that went to Blair, went to Whitman, Walter Johnson. They are our neighbors, they are our people.
So when going out and doing your work, you rely on volunteers, you
We do.
rely on staff.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit how you operate, how you work, and how someone can get into the Bethesda Cares network of being assisted.
Okay, thank you. Yes, back up a little bit. Our name denotes where our office is. It's not necessarily who we help. We do, we have reduced homelessness in downtown Bethesda by 85%, so people that were sleeping in front of the movie theaters and down in the metro, we're down to about 3 now.
Wow.
So it's you know, it's that housing focus, keeping at people and following up and just building that trust that's so important. But if you would think of us not so much as the organizational chart with the boxes, but more of an arc, we prevent homelessness with eviction prevention,
Okay.
and that is keeping people in their homes first.
That's right.
Is
Makes
the
a lot of
best
sense,
golden
yeah.
standard.
Yeah,
It makes the
yeah.
sense because
Sure.
if once you're turned out, then it's more money on shelter services, counseling services, first month's rent, last month's rent. So keeping somebody there and their kids in the same school, that's the gold standard. So we do that, and then we flip to the other side where we do, again, the housing focus, but at the same time we are looking to ease homeless because it's the people we're working with take a while to convince to come back in. So we have lunch, showers, and this is where the volunteers also help with toiletries. You take it off the top. Several area schools give us the gleanings from their cafeteria, for example, or the kids do a sock drive or things like that. Holy Resurrection Orthodox just brought in 160 pounds of coffee because we have coffee on all the time. So
So
that
I have a question.
Sure.
Driving home from Annapolis, Connecticut exit, there's almost always somebody there
Correct.
with a sign on, says, I'm homeless, give me some money. What should I do when I see somebody like that?
Oh, love you for asking that. We really discourage people from giving to panhandlers. In fact, we have cards that have where we serve lunch and our contact information. So if they truly are homeless, they can seek help.
And can I download those cards so I can have them in my glove box?
I will be happy to send you some.
Okay.
But the bottom line is that, and we've done panhandling, and I think you were involved with the panhandling task force and finding it, and it's free speech, so we can't stop it there. So we're trying to educate the public, don't give.
Right.
Because you set up a little bubble. I make enough money during the day so I can pay for what I want at night, and then once the money's gone, I have to go back out again and do it all over again. And I'm not going to leave, and I'm not going to work on my issues.
And a lot of the issues, as you said, are mental illness.
Correct.
Or mental health, I should say. And as we've talked about a lot on this show, we all have mental health. We're all imperfect individuals. If you want to look at perfect and mental health, I know what that is. And it's just in folks along the spectrum of mental health, might have been a death in a family. It might have been some loss of a job.
Right.
Might be something deeper. And you know, you're without professionals engaged, it's impossible to understand.
Exactly, and what you're mentioning is the fact that the stories are just more survival because I'm living on the street and all I can do is focus on the next day. And once we get people housed, then people start relaxing. Then they can pay attention to doing job
You've got
training.
a base you can move from.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. But before we set up this horrible model of you need to go to job training while you're staying in the shelter or sleeping on the street. So people didn't have alarms, they didn't have hygiene.
Well, and they feel unsettled. They don't know what they're going back to at the end of the day.
And that's exactly where Don
Don-
was pointing. That we all have
Yeah.
traumas,
yeah.
but on the people that we deal with, finally it comes out. It's really deep, deep trauma that.
I didn't want to interrupt this, but 5 seconds left. What's the we're gonna solve homelessness, eliminated in Montgomery County?
It's very exciting. I'm not sure if I can do this in 5 minutes.
We have 3 seconds, literally.
Okay. We ended veterans homelessness
Okay.
in 2015. We have a model, and
Okay.
now we're working on ending chronic homelessness, and then we will go on to youth and children.
Perfect. That's the last word. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you, and the viewing audience, for joining all of us for this week's edition of Montgomery Weekend Review. I'm Don Moores, inviting you to come back next week at this very same time.